God created the land, He put on earth two people, Adam and Eve. Now with time, those people have multiplied and filled the earth, but the land hasn't increased. Because of that, people have gone to subdividing and subdividing in order to own land. And with that have come conflicts, disputes, wrangles, all sorts of negative things that have affected the ownership and productive use of land.
Yeah, land is important because it's a resource, Where do you make your living? You need to cultivate food. You need to put up some projects, and you're going to put it on land. Without land, it means you don't have a clan. And if you don't have a clan, you don't have any belonging. Here, if you don't have land, you don't have a clan, you are worse than a street kid.
80% of court cases in this sub-region is actually about land.
The cases normally are between the rich relatives and the poor ones. The relatives who are in armed forces, maybe police, maybe army, and those who are not. The relatives who are more educated than the others. The wives who have children who are more educated than the co-wives. Those are the type of people who come. And then the misbehavior of brothers-in-law towards widows. The moment somebody passes on, a brother-in-law or even a sister-in-law begins to harass the widow. Those are the kind of cases we handle.
First of all, customary tenure is about 80% of our land in the country. There's no evidence of land rights. Their boundary conflicts are very high, one of the highest. So we proposed ways of improving how people could prove their land rights. Reducing the conflict without depending on the witnesses who can sometimes, not be honest. Sometimes they are dead and the rest. So we had a package of what families could do on their own to improve their ways of proving that the land is there, even prevent conflict. That's when we came out with boundary tree planting, with the neighbors all agreeing. We came out with sketch map, because boundaries can help if you visit the land, but if you go to court, you need a piece of paper before the conflict starts. So the third one was to have a lineage of your family, because then you'll have, these are the owners of the land, this is the sketch map of the land, and this is the landmarks physically on the ground. So we thought if that was done, it would improve the security of tenure and people's ability to prove that they have the land rights. But we also had the rights documented in order to disprove the fact that they're saying that women do not own land. So those are the 4 tools that we have to improve security of tenure of customary land.
My neighbor is very wealthy and he used to work in Little Town but came here over the weekends. One day, he put a barbed wire fence to mark his boundary and in the process enclosed a big part of my land into his land. When I spoke to him about it, he became rude and started threatening me. He told me to leave my land and did not want to find me here the next time he came back. As a widow, I had no power to fight for my land all by myself. I used to move around town like a mad woman because of the problems I had about the land. I would go to offices, but they would just ignore me and walk away as if I didn't exist. I would try, fail, rest, and then try again.
We did a research with 508 widows in Lango and 209 widows in Teso with TROCRA funding. And we found over 50% of widows have land conflicts 1 to 2 months after their husbands have died. No, that cannot be by accident. So you have to look at the parties. If it is a brother-in-law and a widow, and they are fighting over the boundary, you should suspect that is not really a boundary conflict, but a land-grabbing attempt.
My neighbor continued to threaten and intimidate me. I really suffered, feeling so much frustration. I cried a lot. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. But I did not give up because I needed the land for survival, not just for me, but also for my children and grandchildren. Without the land, how could we survive? The last office I went to was called Kalvik. They referred me to Lemu. The staff there welcomed me. I told them my whole story, and they visited the land and then wrote to my neighbor inviting him to come for mediation to settle the matter. Both of us were asked to present our witnesses to prove that we had rights over the land. My neighbor did not have any witnesses. After some days, Lemu once again told all of us to meet here at home with all our witnesses. I brought mine. There, they asked my neighbor once again in front of everybody to present his witnesses, and he said he had none. On that same day, he also accepted that he was indeed encroaching into my land and that the fence he had put up was not his true boundary. The case was settled there and then. Boundary trees were brought and we all planted them in the true boundary. My neighbor also participated in the digging of the holes for the trees as we planted the boundary trees. Now everything is different. There are no more quarrels, no more threats. I feel safe now.
Well, if we are putting the boundary, all the neighbors of the 4 boundaries should be here.
The neighbor on this side must be there when we are doing the boundary planting here. Then the neighbors on this side has to be here. Even the neighbors on this side, they have to be there. That is one. Then the chairman LC1 of the village has to be there. Then our chiefs. We said there is somebody in charge of the family lineage. The family lineage, before you go to the Jago, the first chief, that is the first level of the chief, he has to be there to confirm.
The boundary tree planting would actually help the vulnerable groups more, because if I plant the boundary trees when my husband is still alive, it's very difficult for my neighbor or the brother-in-law to come and start saying the boundary was here, not there.
It is for us good because boundaries become clear. If anybody is encroaching, like where we are now, if anybody comes to encroach here or there, he knows that he is in a wrong place. So that's what we did with Lemo. I'm happy, in fact, that we have scored. I think my report to them was that we have 50% success on that matter, because we have already secured the boundary outside of our own, which covers our clan people. So it's a matter of now pacifying the inside, the people who live inside, and we have done that in all the areas that was under my custody.
I actually think that in many ways we are only reactivating what used to be the culture. When we went through the colonial stage and the insurgency and development and education, many people forgot the boundary tree, and it was being used mainly for bathrooms, for cattle crashes and the rest of it. So when we brought it back, it was easy in a way to agree to it, but also to name the particular tree. And by coincidence, Lango and Teso, we went through different processes, but they all agreed on the same trees, what they call Mara Mara, or Jumla, or Ligo, Eligoy. So the principle is accepted everywhere, but the practice, I think, because maybe the land is allowed and people actually feel secure on their land, and we have concluded that people who plant trees before conflict they have either bought the land or they have had a threat. That's when they move then but when they are still with no threat, they take their time to plant those boundary trees.
As the customary owners are planting their boundary trees, together with everybody from the community and the area land committees, the area land committee picks the coordinates. Wherever the tree is planted, the coordinates are picked, and a sketch is generated with GPS coordinates that are stored in the land information system. That evidence is enough for the government to defend the owner of that land in courts of law or any other person who is coming to take it away.
The issue around customary tenure is no longer even a topic. I think out of about 1,000 people, Lemu is the only one who still talks about customary tenure. So the one achievement in Uganda is that we've kept that debate on. Customary tenure has got a visibility which it did not have before. But we also had opportunities when the national land policy was being passed, and we contributed a lot. So that is our second achievement, that everything we wanted for customary land is in the policy. Although now with the land market policy preferring individual titles registered with the government, it might never be implemented the way we would want, because it says customary land will not be converted, it will be supported to evolve, and traditional institutions will be given their role. But you can see the world is not interested in customary land because it is family owned, it is community owned. So we might not see it come to pass unless we have our own money from our own government. The third one is to document customary rules so that people know and it is owned by the traditional institution. So we've done that for Lango, for Teso. Actually, we were involved in the principles. We've done it for the Alur, for Lukbara, for Kumam, and for Bunyoro.
Initially, we didn't have anything written about our land until we partnered with Lemu. When His Highness read the Constitution and the Land Act, the books said the land under customary tenure should be managed according to the rules and regulations obtaining within that community. Lem came in, we joined up. First thing we did, and the first achievement also, we did research into how our land used to be managed. After that, we came up with a document which is now widely used in our day-to-day land management issues, including resolving land disputes. And that book is here with me. It is called Principles, Practices, Rights and Responsibilities, PPRR, on customary land tenure. This is the book which we treat as our Bible, and it is an achievement we greatly cherish because it has become very handy. Any land dispute, any land conflict can easily be handled referring to this book, the principles and practices highlighted in this book.
At the beginning, when Lem was not there, we didn't know how many are we. But when the Lem came in, we have known, we have registered 1,608 clans. That means that we can now identify how many we are. That's the one point of the things which we have already discovered from Lemu. Lemu has helped Teso a lot, and we are appreciating with Lemu, because without Lemu, even documenting the clans, we cannot even do it because there is no money.
One major role that we played with Lemu is to help us sensitize the community that I lead is a very big community. As I say, some of them live here, others live in Lira. If you are familiar with this, in Lira we have scattered people. But our policy was to ensure that we educate them about boundary marking, to ensure that they understand the meaning of boundary marking and actually participate and implement the boundary marking. We ourselves had no capacity, so we did partnership with Lemu. They were trained, we first trained their leaders, and then the leaders went to train the people, and the people actually went down to implement the policy that we had laid down concerning boundary markings.
Lemo has worked very closely with the Land Cultural Foundation, and me as the Minister of Lands, Land Cultural Foundation, we've been working very closely, and they did a lot to build our capacity. Conflict resolution, mediation, decision. We've talked about the ladies, the women also at least owning land. It was something that was little known in our in our culture. But over time now, women do talk about land ownership, and girls, they claim their right. And I think even the rights over land has been so much drummed by Lemo, really.
Lemu enabled us, through the structures established, to put in place clan land committees which handle land disputes using this book. Because now anything to do with the land is really taken care of. Committees are there, the clans are there, the book is there. This book stresses what we call family land rights inheritance lines. So if you follow that, you solve many clan land disputes. If brother is against brother, cousin against who, an old man against children and so on, you follow this book, everything will be clearly indicated who is on the wrong and who is on the right.
What is missing is now the sensitization and awareness of customary land owners to be able to move a step further from just having their land demarcated with boundary trees, but to making sure that the area land committee captures it on the sketch, and the area land committee still captures the coordinates we have developed. We do have a software that has been developed, systematic demarcation software, that is used specifically with a GPS to capture the coordinates of all the corners of a parcel of land, so that in case the boundary trees are destroyed tomorrow, we can still go back and retrace where the land of that customary owner was. We have done this already in some of Acholi region, and where we have done it, the owners are now very secure. They have moved into productive use of the land, and there are no more quarrels in that place. So it is the way to go. We need to update and make sure that we, as I said, we follow the rule of law. So we have to follow the procedures as provided for under the Land Act, register the clans as legal entities, then the legal entities move a step further to demarcate their land, their customary land, and receive a certificate of customary ownership, which shows that conclusive evidence that they are the owners of that land and no other person is the owner.
20 years from now, the clan land committees will have become so efficient, and therefore they will have been empowered so much that they will be effective, and the issues will not be so much, because they will have been teaching people, and when they are solving cases, people will have learned that if you do this, it is wrong, and so on and so forth. And then, because of the boundary tree planting, that will also have reduced on the possible conflicts. So by 20 years from now, I expect very calm situation in Teso in as far as land problems are concerned. That's my imagination.
When you do meet the people of Lemo, I like to put on record our appreciation to them for the support that they have given our clan. It has benefited the clan. I think in the process it has brought security. It has helped a resettlement program, which otherwise would have been very, very difficult to proceed smoothly and, to my mind, happily. And please do send my appreciation to them. I also want to thank people for coming. But to government, we would like to think that they should think in terms of amending the policies of government to give strength to us in terms of strengthening this customary tenancy, to give it its due right, so that when it comes to compensation, the compensation should be given the weight that is given to freehold. I have had opportunity to look at the Land Act of 1965. As I told you, I participated in the constitution making. I also have read the Land Act of 1998. I find that in it there are sufficient safeguards already for government, actually. In my mind, they don't need additional, there are provisions there for them if they want to acquire land, which they want for development. The provisions are already in the law. They have to do it. The only difficulty is that the weight should be on willing buyer, willing seller, and on the market value. I think that to me is what worries me, because that is where we as current leaders of concerned with land find difficulty in, because when government comes, they say, but where is your title? And when we show them the boundary marks, they don't take it seriously. And that is not something which is very good. So our message to government is on this matter, that let them help us to help government by ensuring that the ownership of customary land is properly given its due weight, so that we can operate successfully with the government or with anybody who wants to have a deal on land. I think this to me is the message I want to pass out. So we think that Lemo should help us lobby on this particular issue to give customary land and customary land owners the due certificate that deserve, so that they can compete with the other landowners.
But we are starting a third campaign, landlessness, because we did another research in Teso, again with Trocrea money, and many families are having less and less land, but the number of children do not decrease. But there is also a move to reject children born to widows and born in separation and those children used to be accepted as part of the widow's family. So we see that things are not going to be good when the land becomes little. The people to pay the price again will be women and children. So we'll be running a campaign, do not sell your land, rent it. We also think that there is more potential at the local government level to give more support to customary land, because they know they're nearer the people, they understand the issues. And so we this year again with Trocrea, we drafted an ordinance, not for rights are a no-go area, but for the governance, your protection of the widow, protection of the land, the consent. We think if that is passed as an ordinance in the districts, you can then use it more in court and challenge those.
Lemo has been a great help to us, to the institution, and to it as a whole, because, as I told you, I would say they virtually organized us, because our partnership with them made the institution organized. Initially, we didn't have, we didn't even know how many clans we had. And then they came. First of all, they helped us get our laws put into black and white to this book PPRR. After that, they also said, in order for these laws to become effective, we must have structures that will implement them. So we embarked on writing, registering plans, which again we successfully achieved. Then the election of clan land committees, which is the implementers of whatever is written here. So you find that as far as land issues are concerned, Lemo has helped us greatly. Maybe the only thing I would like to say is you cannot say more than, you cannot give them anything more than say thank you to Lemo. And we hope we shall continue with them. We expect if we get some other issues which we want to find solution to, we shall always call on them. I think they have shown that they are friends in need, and we shall continue with them.